looking at precision crop load management, clarifying what I meant about sites versus buds that I gave a presentation at IFTA this winter. So just showing specifically in the orchard what I meant between sites and buds. So a site is basically a place where I can hang a fruit. And so the first rule of a site is that I need a bud to make it a site. The fruit comes from the bud. So that's one. This here is another one. I can hang an apple there. It's got 3 buds, but it's one site. These two together make a site. This one makes a site, even though it's in a bad location, it's a site. That's a site. So I've got 3 buds here for that one site. I would call this 2 sites, so one here and one there. That's a site for me, and this is another site for me. This is a site. That may be a site, depending on if this bud is a flower. That's a site. So that's how we go through counting. And a lot of times the counters will just count them like this. They can just grab the cluster. So that's 1, that's 2, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So from like basically wherever I started here to here, there's 15 sites. And so the concept that I explained was that I want, for each site, I want 1 finished fruit, or I want 1 site for every finished fruit that I have in there. So let's say I want 18 on this wire, just random number, 18 apples on this here, then I want 18 sites. And so I counted 15 or so from here to there, and so I bet I have too many. And so, here I could eliminate a site. I could eliminate a site there. I could eliminate a site here and try to get it down to that target number. And then the other aspect that you need to watch is buds per site. So like I said before, trying to find a good example. So this one is a site, and it's got 3 buds on it. And so if your goal is just to have 1 bud for that site, you need to eliminate 2 of them somehow. Or this one's got 4 buds, and so then I need to eliminate, however many to get my goal. So for Honeycrisp, I often use around 2 as my goal, but I'm not super picky. Sometimes you get like this situation where you get 4 altogether. If you can do something to get down closer to 2, that's better. But I really like to not go under 2 for Honeycrisp. For Galas or something that return blooms a little easier, you might go just down to 1 bud per site. So if this was my site for a Gala or for Honeycrisp, I might just leave those 2 buds right there. But if it was a Gala, I might want to remove one of those buds just to get down to my 1 bud per site, or even go here, maybe better, because I have 1 there, and then I'm going to remove sites that are in bad locations that I'll have coals. So really, it's about eliminating sites that are in bad positions, making sure you have enough sites with good positions on it. And this limb's a little complicated, but like on this one, that's a site. It's got 2 buds. This is a site here, 1 bud. I've actually got 3 buds on this site, so I'd like to see maybe a clean cut underneath there. You might be able to count both of these together as 1 site. This is a site. I'd like to see that eliminated because it's a coal risk. This one's good. That's good. Here's maybe 2 because this will hang down. 1, 2. But it's a little fuzzy, it's kind of up to your interpretation of spacing. Whether or not you count this as 1 here and 2 there, or you just count this all as 1, that's kind of up to you as a grower. But if this is just 1, then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 buds on that for that site. For pruning rules, what we do is we don't ask them to count. So we're not asking them to keep track of how many sites have they left on this branch. It's really more just about containment. So if I want 2 sites on like any given secondary. So like I could have 1 site, 2 sites. That might be a rule that I have. 1, 2. This one might actually have 3 because I got 1, 2, 3 there. So if my rule is just 2 sites, then they need to do something to eliminate that 3rd site. Like here too, I've got 1, 2, 3. So maybe better to clean that off if I just want 2, because this one's in a bad position, and leave the 2 sites that have a better chance of making a good apple. So that's really how we think about it. Sometimes we also go down to 1 site. So if I have just 1 site, I'll cut here. That's my site, and then I'd like to see that cleaned off because that's right on top of the limb. Same here. 1 site only. If I've got 1 site, then I need to do something to remove the fruiting bud there. Now I've just got 1 site on this limb. And maybe I made a bad decision by removing this one because these apples might land on that wire right there. So you want to make sure what you're leaving is accessible. And so then basically what we do is we count behind to make sure that our pruning rules are yielding the results that we want. So we come through and count to see that we're hitting our target number. And then let's say I'm low and my rules has been just leave 1 site per secondary. Then I'll jump that up and say leave 2 per, or leave a mix of 1 and 2. Or if I see I'm over and I'm at leave 2, then I'll say, okay, let's cut it back. Let's just do one site per little extension off the main limb. So that way the rules are just really simple. You don't have to keep track over the course of the whole limb. You're just looking right here. 1, 1, 1, and then they're not counting. So it just gets hard to try to be keeping track as a worker, to be counting up to 18 or 20 over and over again all day long. It's just kind of exhausting, and so this keeps it simple. And we've had pretty good results with being able to get the results we want, even without having to count.